So for today, I will be discussing on Mathematics 9, Quarter 1, Week 2. So this is solving quadratic equations. So page 3 is solving quadratic equations by extracting square roots. So this is lesson 2A. So you have their activity 1, what's in? Extract me please. So directions: determine the square roots of the following radicals. Answer carefully questions that follow. So number 1 there is square root of 49, number 2 negative square root of 81, and so on up to number 6. So in here, what you're going to do is you're going to determine the square roots of the given radicals. For example, if we're going to have square root of 25, so square root of 25 is equal to 5. Okay, this is the same with numbers 1, 2, and 4. So you'll just have the square roots of the given radicals. Then for number 3 here, we have square root of 49 over 81. So this is just the same as square root of 4 over 9. So what you're going to do is you're going to get the square root of 4. Square root of 4 is 2. Square root of 9 is 3. So square root of 4 over 9 is 2 over 3. Then we have here example numbers 5 and 6. So these are not perfect squares. So what you're going to do is you're going to find the factors of the number inside the radical sign. So inyo pangitaon ang factor ani or factors. For example, if we're going to have square root of 8, this is not a perfect square, but you can still factor this one. You can have this one as first, we're going to find the factors of 8, wherein one of the factors is a perfect square. So we can have 8 as 4 times 2, so we can have this one as square root of 4 times 2. Then square root of 4 is 2, so we can have this one as 2 times the square root of 2. Then let's have the next page. What is it? So quadratic equations that can be written in the form x squared equals r, where r could be any real number, can be solved by a method called extracting the square roots. This method is used with the following properties as a guide. Property number 1, if r is greater than 0, so greater than 0, then it means that x squared is equal to r. So r here is greater than 0, meaning the value of r is positive. Then we can say that x squared equals r has two real solutions or roots. X is equal to positive negative square root of r. We have here example number 1. Find the solutions of the equation x squared minus 36 equals 0 by extracting the square roots. The solution, we are going to rewrite x squared minus 36 equals 0 in the form x squared equals r by adding both sides of the equation by 36, or you can call this one as transposition process. So you are going to transpose negative 36 to the right side. So from negative 36, this will become positive 36. So the equation will become x squared equals 36. Now since r is equal to 36, which is greater than 0, we need to use a property 1, which states that if r is greater than 0, then x squared equals r has two real roots. X equals positive negative square root of r. Now since r is equal to 36, which is greater than 0, r is greater than 0 here, we need to use property 1, which states that if r is greater than 0, then x squared equals r has two real solutions or roots. X is equal to positive negative square root of r. To find the values of x that will make the equation x squared minus 36 equals 0 true. So x squared equals 36 if we're going to solve this one. 36 is a perfect square. So we can have x equals positive negative square root of 36. x here is equal to positive negative 6. Okay? So 6 times 6 equals 36. Negative 6 times negative 6 is also 36. So x here is equal to 6 or negative 6. Now to check if your answers are correct, you can just substitute the value of x to the original equation. For example, if x is equal to 6, we can have 6 squared minus 36, is it equal to 0? So 6 squared is 36, so 36 minus 36, is it equal to 0? So 36 minus 36 is 0, so we can say that 0 on the left side is equal to 0 on the right side. Now for x is equal to negative 6, negative 6 squared is equal to 36, so 36 minus 36 equals 0, so we can say that 0 is equal to 0. So both values of x satisfy the given equation, thus x squared minus 36 equals 0 is true when x is equal to 6 and x is equal to negative 6. So the equation x squared minus 36 equals 0 has two solutions, x equals 6 and x equals negative 6. Now, a quadratic equation can have two or only one real solution. In some cases, it can also have no real solutions. So, pwede duha ka solutions, pwede usa, or pwede pod walay or no real solutions. Now, let's have property 2. If r is equal to 0, then x squared is equal to r has one real solution, or the root x is equal to 0. Example 2. Solve the equation m squared equals 0. So the equation m squared equals 0 is already in the form x squared equals r. So we can say that m squared equals 0. Then since r is equal to 0, we need to use the second property, which state that if r is equal to 0, then x squared is equal to r has one real solution, or root x equals 0, that is m is equal to 0. So automatically, if the value of r is equal to 0, it means that the solution is equal to 0. Now to check, you can substitute m with 0. So if m is equal to 0, 0 squared is equal to 0. So 0 is equal to 0. So our answer here, the equation m squared equals 0 has only one solution, which is x equals 0. Now let's have property number 3. If r is lesser than 0, then x squared equals r has no real solutions or roots. So wala ni si Jai real solution. So imaginary number ang atong answer ani. So for example here in number 3, find the roots of the equation x squared plus 9 equals 0. So if we're going to transpose 9 to the right side, it will become negative 9. So the equation will become x squared equals negative 9. So r here is negative. So we can say that the equation x squared plus 9 equals 0 has no real solutions or roots. Now let's have example number 4 here. Find the solutions of the equation x minus 3 squared, or quantity of x minus 3 squared minus 81 equals 0. So to solve this one, first we're going to transpose negative 81 to the right side. So the equation will become quantity of x minus 3 squared equals 81. Then next is you're going to extract the square roots of both sides of the equation. So you're going to extract the square root of x, or quantity of x minus 3 squared, equals the square root of 81. So the square root of quantity of x minus 3 squared is x minus 3. Now in here, square root of quantity of x minus 3 squared, if we're going to apply nth root of a to the power of n equals a, we can say that the nth root of quantity of x minus 3 squared is equal to x minus 3, or quantity of x minus 3. The value of a here inside the parentheses. Now, Square root of 81, this is equal to positive negative 9. 9 times 9 is 81. Negative 9 times negative 9 is also 81. Now, after this one, you're going to solve. The first one is x minus 3 equals 9. Second one is x minus 3 equals negative 9. Then for x minus 3 equals 9, solving for x, we're going to transpose negative 3 to the right side. So this will become x equals 9 plus 3. So x here is equal to 12. Then for x minus 3 equals negative 9, the same. Transpose negative 3 to the right side. It will become positive 3. So negative 9 plus 3. X here is equal to negative 6. So we have two values of x, 12 and negative 6. Now to check if these two are solutions, we'll just substitute this one to the original equation. So for x equals 12, so we can have 12 minus 3 squared minus 81 is it equal to 0. So 12 minus 3 is 9. Then 9 squared is 81. Then 81 minus 81 is equal to 0. So we can say here that 0 is equal to 0. Then for x equals negative 6, negative 6 minus 3 squared minus 81 is it equal to 0. So negative 6 minus 3 is negative 9. Then negative 9 squared is 81. 81 minus 81 is equal to 0. So we have here two solutions, x equals 12 and x equals negative 6. So these two values of x satisfy the equation. So for activity 6, you have there 5 given equations. So what you're going to do is you're going to solve quadratic equations by extracting square roots. Label every steps of your solution with the steps of solving by extracting the square roots as presented previously in the examples. So you will just apply here what you have learned in the discussion. Then let's have activity 7, strengthen your understanding. So read and analyze each item below, provide a solution if necessary. Write your answer in your mathematics notebook. So in this case, you'll just write this one in your paper. So number 1, give examples of quadratic equations that can be solved by extracting the root with A, 2 real solutions, B, 1 real solution, C, no real solution. So you're going to apply here properties number 1, 2, 3. So A is greater than 0, A is equal to 0, and A is lesser than 0. Then number 2, were the steps of solving quadratic equations by extracting the square roots helpful to you? Why? So you'll just apply here what will be your answer. Then activity 8, you can do it. Directions, read and analyze each item carefully to answer. Provide solutions if needed and write your answer in mathematics notebook. So number 1, write a quadratic equation that represents the area of each square. Then find the length of each side using the equation formulated. Answer the questions that follow. So in here, you will just apply here the formula in finding the area of a square. So the formula in finding the area of a square is given by A, area, equals S squared. Okay, so that will be your hint in answering number 1. Now let's have lesson 2B, solving quadratic equations by factoring. Let's have activity 1, deal with my factor. So directions, factor each of the following polynomial expressions, and answer the questions that follow. So this is just an application of your lessons in grade 8. So for numbers 1 and 2, you will apply here finding the factors using GCF. Then for numbers 3, 4, you're going to apply here factoring perfect square trinomials or general trinomials. Then 5, So we're going to apply here difference of two squares, how to factor difference of two squares. And for number 6, you're going to apply here GCF. So what is it? Some quadratic equations can be solved easily by factoring. So this type of quadratic equations is said to be factorable. So to solve such equations, the following steps can be followed. 1. Transform the quadratic equation into standard form if necessary. So the standard form is ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. The next is factor the quadratic expression. Then number 3, apply the zero product property by setting each factor of the quadratic expression equal to 0. So zero product property, so nasayop na dyan, di na siya zero property that is zero product property. So if the product of two real numbers is 0, then either of the two is equal to 0 or both numbers are equal to 0. So kung naako ni duha ka numbers, kung ang ilang product, kung imong i-multiply ng duha, mo equal siya og 0, then automatically either ang usa ka number or ang kanang duha ka number equal to 0. Then after applying zero product property, you're going to have number 4, solve its resulting equation to get the value of the variable. And the last will be check the values of the variable obtained by substituting each in the original equation. So we have here example number 1. Find the solutions of x squared plus 7x equals negative 6 by factoring. So first, you're going to write this one into standard form, ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. So doing that, we're going to transpose negative 6 to the left side. So that will become x squared plus 7x plus 6 equals 0. That is step number 1. Number 2 is factor the quadratic expression. So in factoring, you're going to look at the constant term c. So in this case, the value of c is 6. So you're going to find the factors of 6, wherein if you're going to add the 2, the answer will be the numerical coefficient of x, which is 7. So mangita ka dinhi og number nga kung imong i-multiply, mo answer og 6. Og imo pong i-add, mo answer og 7. So doing that, we can have the factors as 6 and 1. So what we're going to do is we're going to write 2 open and close parentheses. Then write first x. So we're going to have in the first term of our binomial x and x. So this is the square root of x squared, x. So doing that, we can have x, then our possible factors 6 and 1, so plus 6, then plus 1. So we're going to have x plus 6 times the quantity of x plus 1 equals 0. Then solving this equation, x plus 6 equals 0. So transpose 6 to the right side. So x is equal to negative 6. And x plus 1 equals 0. Transpose 1 to the right side. X here is equal to negative 1. Now the last step is you're going to check if your answers are correct. So for x equals negative 6, so substitute x with negative 6. So we are going to have negative 6 squared plus 7 times negative 6. Is it equal to negative 6? Then negative 6 squared is 36. Then 7 times negative 6 is negative 42. So 36 minus 42 is negative 6. So negative 6 is equal to negative 6. This is correct. For x equals negative 1, substitute negative 1 to every x. So we're going to have negative 1 squared plus 7 times negative 1. Is it equal to negative 6? Negative 1 squared, negative 1 times negative 1 is 1. 7 times negative 1 is negative 7. So 1 minus 7 equals negative 6. So negative 6 here is equal to negative 6, which is also correct. Therefore, we can say that our answer here, the equation x squared plus 7x equals negative 6 has two solutions, x equals negative 6 and x equals negative 1. Example number 2, factor 4x squared minus 9 equals 0 and solve for x. So first step is we're going to transform the equation to standard form, ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. So in this case, this is already in standard form, 4x squared minus 9 equals 0. So if we're going to factor this one for our second step, these two are, so this expression is a difference of two squares. So we can apply x squared minus y squared is equal to the quantity of x plus y times the quantity of x minus y. Therefore, we can just have 4x squared minus 9 as square root of 4x squared is 2x. Square root of 9 is 3. So we can have this one as 2x plus 3 times the quantity of 2x minus 3 equals 0. Then solving for the value of x, 2x minus 3 equals 0. Then applying zero product property, we can have quantity of 2x. Then applying zero product property, 2x minus 3 equals 0, or 2x plus 3 equals 0. Then solving the equation, we can have 2x, transpose negative 3 to the right side, this will become plus 3, so 2x equals 3. Then divide both sides by 2 to eliminate the numerical coefficient of x. So 2x divided by 2 is equal to x. Then 3 divided by 2 is equal to 3 halves. So x here is equal to 3 halves. Then for the second one, 2x plus 3 equals 0. Transpose 3 to the right side. So this will become 2x equals negative 3. Then x here is equal to negative 3 over 2. Then last step is we're going to check. So substitute 3 halves and negative 3 halves to the original equation. So let's have first 3 halves. So if x is 3 halves, we can have 4 times 3 halves squared minus 9 is it equal to 0. So square first 3 halves. 3 squared is 9. Then 2 squared is 4. So this is 4 times 9 over 4. 4 times 9 over 4, cancel 4, that is 9. Then 9 minus 9 equals 0. So this is 0 equals 0. Correct. Then for x equals negative 3 over 2, substitute negative 3 over 2 to x. So we can have 4 times negative 3 halves squared minus 9 is it equal to 0. Then negative 3 halves squared is 9 over 4. So 4 times 9 over 4 is also equal to 9. Then 9 minus 9 is equal to 0. So 0 is equal to 0, which is also correct. Therefore, the equation for x squared minus 9 equals 0 has two solutions, x equals 3 halves and x equals negative 3 halves. Let's have example number 3. Solve for y squared plus 36 equals negative 24y. So first, you are going to transform this one to standard form by transposing negative 24y to the left side. So this will become 4y squared plus 24y plus 36 equals 0. Then factoring the quadratic expression. So in this case, this is a perfect square trinomial. So we'll just have the square root of the first term. Square root of 4y squared, that is 2y. So 2y times 2y or 2y squared is equal to 4y squared. And the square root of the constant term 36, square root of 36 is 6. So we can have our factors as quantity of 2y plus 6 times the quantity of 2y plus 6, or we can write that one as quantity of 2y plus 6 squared. So the factors are being repeated. Then next is applying zero product property. We can say that quantity of 2y plus 6 squared is equal to 0. So 2y plus 6 is equal to 0. Then solving for the value of y, transpose 6 to the right side, we can have 2y equals negative 6. Then dividing both sides by 2, we can have y equals negative 3. So our answer here is equal to y equals negative 3. Then checking if our answers are correct or is correct, we can substitute negative 3 to the value of y. So we can have 4 times negative 3 squared plus 36 equals negative 24 times negative 3. Negative 3 squared is 9, so we're going to have 4 times 9 plus 36 equals negative 24 times negative 3 is 72. 4 times 9 is 36, then plus 36 equals 72. 36 plus 36 is 72, so we can say that 72 is equal to 72, which is correct. So we can say here that our answer should be x equals negative 3. Now for activity number 3, we're going to apply what you have learned in the discussion. So solve the following quadratic equations by factoring method. Present your solution in step-by-step manner. Make sure to label each step as you solve. Then write your answer in your mathematics notebook or your paper. Then activity 4 here, how much do I know? Read carefully and answer each of the following items. Provide your solutions if needed. Now let's have lesson 2C, solving quadratic equations by completing the squares. So we have here activity 1, how many roots do I have? Directions, find the solutions or roots of each of the following equations. Answer the questions that follow. So in here, what you're going to do here is you're going to have, for example, in number 1, you're going to transpose 1 to the right side. So this will become x squared equals 50 minus 1, x squared equals 49. Then you're going to extract the square roots. Same with number 2. Then number 3, the same, we're going to extract the square roots. Then number 4, the same with number 1, transpose negative 25 to the right side. Then extract the square roots. And for numbers 5 and 6, you're going to factor this one using factoring. Then let's have activity 2, from perfect trinomial to binomial square. Direction, express each of the following perfect square trinomials to binomial square. Answer the questions that follow. Number 1 is done for you. So for number 1 here, let's have x squared plus 6x plus 9. So the answer is x squared plus 6x plus 9 equals quantity of x plus 3 squared. So if the given is a perfect square trinomial, what you're going to do is you're going to look at the first term, the quadratic term, and the constant term, x squared and 9. So what you're going to do is you're going to extract the square roots of the two. So square root of x squared is x, and square root of 9 is 3. So after having the factors of the quadratic term and the constant term, you would just express this one as a binomial, square of a binomial. So the technique here is if the sign of the middle term is positive, so you're going to use that one, plus 3 squared. That is the reason why the answer is quantity of x plus 3 squared. If the given sign of the second term is negative, so we're going to have negative sign. Just like in number 2 and number 2, number 3, and number 5. How about number 4 here? So x squared plus 3x plus 9 over 4. So given that this is a perfect square trinomial, we're going to have the square root of x squared, which is x, and square root of 9 over 4, the constant term, 3 halves. Now since the middle term is positive, so we can have x plus 3 halves squared. So we're going to do the same with number 6. Now let's have activity 3. perfect is the clue. So directions: carefully choose a number that will make each of the equation a perfect square trinomial. Number 1 is done for you. So we have here number 1, x squared plus 22x plus blank. So what you're going to do here is you're going to take half of the numerical coefficient of x. So 22 divided by 2. The answer here is 11. And the answer that you will get here will be squared. That will be the number that you're going to add as a constant term. So 11 squared is 121, so we can have x squared plus 22x plus 121. So let's have example number 2 here. H squared minus 12h plus blank. So let's have the half of negative 12. What is half of negative 12? That is negative 6. Then square that one. Negative 6 squared is 36. So you're going to have your answer here as h squared minus 12h plus 36. So kindly do numbers 3, 4, 5, and 6. Next is what is it? Extracting square roots and factoring are two methods commonly used to solve quadratic equations of the form ax squared minus c equals 0. If the factors of the quadratic expression of ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0 are determined, then it is more convenient or use factoring to solve it. So another method of solving quadratic equation is by completing the square. This method involves transforming the quadratic equation ax squared plus bx plus c into the form quantity of x minus h squared equals k, where k is greater than or equal to 0. So the value of k should be positive to obtain a real number solution. Now let's go directly to example 1 and explain the steps in solving quadratic equations by completing the squares. So example 1 here, find the solutions of 2x squared plus 12x minus 14 equals 0 by completing the square. So the first step is you're going to divide both sides of the equation by the coefficient of a, then simplify. So the coefficient of a here is 2, so we're going to divide the equation by 2. So 2x squared divided by 2 is x squared. 12x divided by 2 is 6x. Negative 14 divided by 2 is negative 7. 0 divided by 2 is equal to 0. So you have there x squared plus 6x minus 7 equals 0. The second step is write the equation such that the terms with variables are on the left side of the equation and the constant term is on the right side. So since on the left side we have negative 7, the constant term, so we're going to transpose that one to the right side. So negative 7 should be on the right side. So transpose that one, so we can have x squared plus 6x equals 7. Step number 3, add the square of 1/2 the coefficient b on both sides of the resulting equation. Then the left side of the equation becomes a perfect square trinomial. So in here, you're going to add to both sides the square of 1/2 the numerical coefficient of x, or the value of b. So in this case, the value of b is 6. So you're going to have half of 6. So 6 divided by 2 is 3. Then you're going to square that one. That will be 3 squared equals 9. So both sides you're going to add 9. So that is why in here we have x squared plus 6x plus 9 equals 7 plus 9, which is equal to x squared plus 6x plus 9 equals 16. Number 4 is express the perfect square trinomial on the left side of the equation as a square of a binomial. So the number that you're going to use here is the number that you have squared in the third step. Okay, so the number that you have squared here is 3. So we're going to express this one as a binomial using 3. So we can have the square of a binomial as quantity of x plus 3 squared. Again, quantity of x plus 3 squared. 3 here is the number that you have squared in the third step. So the resulting equation here will be quantity of x plus 3 squared equals 16. Then the next step is we're going to solve the resulting quadratic equation by extracting the square roots. So you're going to extract the square root of x plus 3 squared and also square root of 16. The square root of x plus 3 squared, x plus 3 equals positive negative square root of 16. So square root of 16 is positive negative 4. So you're going to have x plus 3 equals positive negative 4. And in here, you're going to have two values of x. X plus 3 equals 4, positive 4, and x plus 3 equals negative 4. Then solving for x plus 3 is transposed to the right side. This will become negative 3. So we're going to have x equals 4 minus 3, that is equal to 1. And x plus 3 equals negative 4, transpose 3 to the right side. So it will become x equals negative 4 minus 3, which is equal to negative 7. Then for the last steps, we're going to check if our answers are correct. So for x equals 1, substitute 1 to the equation. So 2 times 1 squared plus 12 times 1 minus 14, is it equal to 0? So 1 squared is 1, so 2 times 1 plus 12 times 1 is 12, minus 14 equals 0. 2 times 1 is 2, plus 12 minus 14, 2 plus 12 is 14, minus 14 equals 0. So you have there 0 equals 0, correct? Then for x equals negative 7, 2 times negative 7 squared, so this will become 2 times 49. 12 times negative 7 is negative 84 minus 14. 2 times 49 is 98 minus 84 equals 14. Then minus 14 equals 0. So 0 is equal to 0. So our answer here is x equals 1 and x equals negative 7. Example number 2, find the solutions of x squared minus 8x minus 9 equals 0. So first step, we're going to divide the equation by the coefficient of a. So since this one is 1, a is equal to 1, so we'll just have the same equation, x squared minus 8x minus 9 equals 0. The next one is we're going to transpose negative 9 to the right side, so this will become x squared minus 8x equals 9. Then third step, we're going to make the left side of the equation a perfect square trinomial by adding both sides the square of 1/2 of b. So b here, the value of b is negative 8. So we're going to have negative 8 divided by 2 is negative 4 squared. Negative 4 squared is 16. So we're going to add to both sides 16. So x squared minus 8x plus 16 equals 9 plus 16. 9 plus 16 is 25, so we're going to have x squared minus 8x plus 16 equals 25. Then next step, you have squared there negative 4, so you're going to have the binomial as quantity of x minus 4 squared. Then this will be equal to 25. This one is your answer here. Then solve the resulting quadratic equation by extracting the square roots. So we're going to extract the square root of x minus 4 squared equals square root of 25. So square root of x minus 4 squared is x minus 4. Square root of 25 is positive negative square root of 25, and this is equal to positive negative 5. Then solving for x, we're going to have x equals 5 plus 4, which is 9. X equals negative 5 plus 4 is negative 1. So we have two values of x. Then last step is checking. So for x equals 9, substitute 9 for every x. So 9 squared minus 8 times 9 minus 9. Then 9 squared is 81. 8 times 9 is 72, so minus 72 minus 9. 81 minus 72 is 9 minus 9 equals 0. So correct. For x equals negative 1, negative 1 squared is 1. Negative 8 times negative 1 is 8. Then minus 9 equals 0. So 0 here is equal to 0. So the answers are true. So we can say that the solutions are 9 and negative 1. Activity 5. Find the solutions of each of the following quadratic equations by completing the squares. So you will now apply here what you have learned in the discussion. Activity 6. What does the equation means to me? So answer the following problems completely. So there are problems there. So you will just answer it. Then let's have the last topic, lesson 2D, solving quadratic equations by quadratic formula. There's activity 1. Simplify each of the following expressions. Answer the questions that follow. Number 1, 8 plus square root of 4 over 2 times 4. So what we're going to do here is we're going to give the square root of 4. So I'll just give this one as an example. Square root of 4 is 2, so we're going to have 8 plus 2, which is 10, over 2 times 4, 8, so 10 over 8. Then simplify that one, that will be 5 over 4. So kindly do numbers 2 to 10 with the same process. Then activity 2, go for the standards. So we're going to write the following quadratic equations in standard forms. Ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. So for numbers 4, 5, and 6 here, we're going to simplify the given by multiplying. For example, number 4, 2x times quantity of x minus 5. So you're going to distribute 2x to x and negative 5. Then number 5, you're going to apply here FOIL method. And number 6, you're going to square first quantity of x minus 2, then multiply to 3, and so on. So activity 3 here, deriving the quadratic formula. So in this one, the steps in solving quadratic equations by completing the squares is used in deriving the quadratic formula. So in here, first step here, ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0 became ax squared plus bx equals negative c. So we just put the constant term on the right side of the equation. So ito rin ang ibalhin sa right side. So nahimo dyan negative c. Then dividing both sides by, or dividing the equation by a. So ax squared divided by a is x squared. Then bx over a is equal to negative c over a. The next step in completing the squares, we're going to add to both sides the square of 1/2 the numerical coefficient of x. So in here, the numerical coefficient of x is b over a. So this is why the third step here is 1/2 of b times a. That will be b over 2a. Then after that, we're going to express or square. So b over 2a squared is b squared is b squared. 2a squared is 4a squared. So b squared over 4a squared. So this is the value that you're going to add to both sides of the equation. So this is why in next step, x squared plus bx over a plus b squared plus 4a squared is equal to negative c over a plus the same b squared over 4a squared. The next one, we're going to express the left side of the equation as a binomial. So the one that we squared on the third step will be the one that we're going to put here. So that is why this one became x plus b over 2a squared equals, on the right side the LCD is 4a squared. So 4a squared divided by a is 4a times negative c is negative 4ac. Then 4a squared divided by 4a squared is 1 times b squared is b squared. So that's why it became negative 4ac plus b squared over 4a squared. Then arranging the terms, the answer is b squared minus 4ac over 4a squared. Then the last term will be, we're going to extract the square roots of the 2. In here, we're going to extract the square root of quantity of x plus b over 2a squared. And on the right side, we're going to extract the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 4a squared. So square root of quantity of x plus b over 2a squared is x plus b over 2a, this one. And this is equal to positive negative square root of b squared minus 4ac over 4a squared, this one. Then this will result to x plus b over 2a equals positive negative square root of b squared minus 4ac is the numerator over square root of 4a squared, that is square root of 4 is 2, square root of a squared is a, so 2a is over 2a. Then after this one is we're going to transpose b over 2a to the right side, so that is why the answer is x equals positive negative square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a minus b over 2a. Then combining the two, they have the same denominator. So we can have x equals negative b plus and minus square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. This is now the quadratic formula. So we're going to use this one in solving any quadratic equations. Now to use this one, these are the steps. We're going to write the equation to standard form, ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. Then after that one, we're going to determine the values of the coefficients a, b, and c. So pangitaon ninyo ang a, b, and c. Then after finding the values of a, b, and c, substitute these values in the quadratic formula, x equals negative b plus minus square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. Then next is evaluate and simplify the result. So after you have the result, you're going to check if those two values are the solutions of the equation. Let's have example number 1. Find the solutions of the equation 2x squared plus 3x equals 27 using the quadratic formula. So first step, we're going to write this one to standard form. So we're going to transpose 27 to the left side. So we're going to have 2x squared plus 3x minus 27 equals 0. So next is determine the values of a, b, and c. So a is the numerical coefficient of x squared. So in this case, a here is equal to 2. B is the numerical coefficient of x. In this case, the numerical coefficient of x is 3, the linear term. And negative 27 is c. This is the constant term. Then after having the values of a, b, and c, substitute this one to the quadratic formula. That is why there you have x equals, the value of b is 3. So minus b, so minus 3 plus and minus square root of b squared. So 3 squared, then minus 4, then a is 2, so times 2, times c, which is negative 27, so times negative 27, over 2a. A is 2, so 2 times 2. Next one is we're going to evaluate and simplify the result. So evaluate, so we're going to have x equals negative 3 plus and minus 3 squared is 9. Then negative 4 times 2 is negative 8. Then negative 20 times negative 27, that will be positive 216. over 2 times 2 is 4. Then 9 plus 216 is 225. So we're going to have x equals negative 3 plus and minus square root of 225 over 4. Square root of 225 is 15. So that is why we have negative 3 plus and minus 15 over 4. Then we have two values here, x equals negative 3 plus 15 over 4, and x equals negative 3 minus 15 over 4. And solving for x, negative 3 plus 15 is 12. 12 divided by 4 is 3. Then negative 3 minus 15 is negative 18. Divided by 4 is negative 9 over 2. Then the last step, you're going to check if the answers are correct. So for x equals 3, substitute the values of x by 3. So 2 times 3 squared plus 3 times 3 equals 27. 3 squared is 9, so 2 times 9 is 18 plus 9. Then 18 plus 9 is equal to 27, so this is correct. Then for x is equal to negative 9 over 2, so substitute x with negative 9 over 2. So this will become 2 times negative 9 over 2 squared plus 3 times negative 9 over 2 equals 27. Negative 9 over 2 squared is 81 over 4. 3 times negative 9 is negative 27 over 2. Then simplify. 2 times 81 over 4 cancel 2. So the answer here will be 81 over 2. So 2 over 4 is 1 half. So that's why 81 over 2. Then minus 27 over 2. 81 minus 27 is 54. Then divided by 2, that is 27. So 27 is equal to 27. This is also correct. So our answer here is x equals 3 and x equals negative 9 over 2. So for the next activity, activity 4, use the formula. Find the solutions of the following quadratic equations using the quadratic formula. So you're going to use the quadratic formula in solving these equations. So just follow the steps in the given discussion. Then activity 5, the best that it has. So analyze what is asked in each item. Answer all the questions carefully and write your answer in your mathematics notebook. Then for the assessment, you'll just read each item carefully and choose the letter of the correct answer. So there are 20 items there. So that's it. So thank you and good day.